Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Drum Antics Society. Tonight, I'm going to have another look at the question of does age matter? And we're going to compare two whiskies from the same distillery, and we're going to see whether age makes a difference to the whiskey. Uh, they're not exactly the same caskings, maturity, but we'll see. Last time out we did it with Aaron and we found the age won out. Tonight we're going to look at two whiskies from Tomintoul Distillery, uh, which is in the heart of Speyside in Ballindalach, near to Scotland's highest located village, Tomintoul. And Tomintoul, the two whiskey retail companies, W&S Strong and Co. and Hay and MacLeod and Co. from Glasgow, established Tomintoul Distillery in 1964, and in July 1965 the Tomintoul Distillery was founded. The company only ran the distillery for less than a decade, and it was then sold to Scottish and Universal Investment Trust in 1973. Besides Tomintoul, the trust also purchased the Fettercairn distillery and the blending company White and Mackay, who took over the administration of the two distilleries. White and Mackay renovated the distillery and added a second pair of pot stills. White and Mackay were also responsible for the first single malt bottling, a 12-year-old Tomintoul, during this period. In 1978, Scottish and Universal Investment Trust was bought by Lonhro, who passed White Mackay on to Brent Walker in 1989. In 1996, White and Mackay were bought by American brand and were renamed JBB. Always on White Mackay's coattails was the Tomintoul distillery, which was eventually sold to Angus Dundee Limited in 2000. So we're lucky not to have to list all the other times White and Mackay was bought by someone. Besides Tomintoul, Angus Dundee Limited also owns the Glencadden distillery, and beside these two single malt brands, they also produce their own blends, as well as bulk whisky for other companies. If you expect picturesque, traditional distillery buildings at the Tomintoul distillery, you'll be disappointed. The plain production buildings are functional and not very romantic. Tomintoul is currently operating at full capacity, 3.3 million litres per year. The owners, Angus Dundee Distillers, produce not only Tomintoul whisky here, the distillery is also home to a large blending plant with 14 large blending tuns, in which the blending whiskies of the company are created. Also, cheap bulk whisky is produced here on customer order. Water is the life source of every distillery, so they are always established spots with enough water of good quality. It took 1 year to find the Ballintruen source as the location for the new Tomintouls distillery. The malted barley that is mashed in this clear, soft water is usually unpeated. Only once a year, a small amount of heavily peated whisky is produced. The mash tun at Tomintoul has a capacity of 11.6 tons, with 15 mash runs per week. The distillery operates at full capacity. Fermentation takes place in 6 stainless steel mash tuns for approximately 54 hours. After fermentation, the beer has an alcohol content of 8 to 9% ABV. In 1974, another pair of pot stills was added, making it a total of 4. The middle cup, which is collected as new spirit in the spirit receiver, has an alcohol content of 69%. Tomintoul saves resources by reusing the cooling water through which the distilled alcohol vapor is led to liquefy. The water heats up the mash and is afterwards used for lautering the mash to create a syrup from the residue, which is used to make animal feed. Tomintoul uses American white oak ex-bourbon casks to mature the whisky, and for some special bottlings also Oloroso sherry and port wine casks are used. The 6 warehouses can hold up to 116,000 casks. So what do we have when we look at Tomintoul whisky? Well, you've got 10, 12, 14, 16, 25-year-olds. It still has a broad age range on offer. After the standard maturation in ex-bourbon cask, Tomintoul is smooth, malty and sweet, with slightly nutty and spicy aromas. It's known as the gentle malt. A 12-year-old Tomintoul Oloroso sherry finish and a 15-year-old Tomintoul portwood finish are also available as original bottlings. Sweet, fruity, berry-like and dry notes characterise these whiskies. In celebration of their 50th anniversary, the distillery released a special and limited whiskey, Tomintoul 5 Decades, which contains casks from every decade, to be precise from 1965, 1975, 1985, 1995 and 2005. While all of these Tomintoul single malts are all non-smoky, with Tomintoul Peaty Town and the new Old Ballantrae range, there are also now heavily peated single malts available. The malt used for Old Ballantrae has a phenol content of 55 parts per million. A strong smoke aroma complements the creamy, smooth sweetness. But tonight we're looking at a contrast between the Tomintoul 21-year-old and the Tomintoul Sherry. First up, the Tomintoul 21-year-old. So this was released in mid-2017. The 21-year-old single malt from Tomintoul is matured exclusively in ex-bourbon casks, which helps bring out the vanilla notes from the gentle dram. The introduction of a 21-year-old expression of Tomintoul fills the gap between the existing 16-year-old and 33-year-old variants and offers a different flavour profile. As distillery director Robert Fleming explains, only those casks offering classic floral and fruity characteristics with a touch of spice have been selected for this bottling. The resulting richness of taste can only be achieved after the careful aging of the finest malt spirit in choice oak casks for 21 patient years. So let's see what we have here. Tomintoul 21-year-old, fully matured in ex-bourbon casks, 40% ABV. And it has gentle tears, light tears, quite slow as well. Let's see what we have on the nose here. And you do get rich oak and an earthy vanilla pod with a waft of citrus blossom. And there's some soft yet tangy berries. Lots of tropical fruit. Overripe pineapple which has been caramelized. Vanilla and honey, and a very slight whiff of smoke, but this has no peat in it. It's floral, but not overpowering. Maybe a slight touch of spice. It's mellow and relaxing and satisfyingly complex. Apples and pears, not Cockney rhyming slang. It doesn't smell of the stairs, but of the fruit, apples and pears. Very, very fresh, full of fruit, and it's light and delicate, the gentle ram. We'll try them out. It's a creamy malt, also butterscotch, and a tiny pinch of white pepper wine. It's light and a bit watery at the 40% ABV. Quite strongly floral with lavender at first, but that quickly calms down to malt and honey. Slightly cereal. I don't get the fruits quite so much on the palate. It's smooth and velvety. There's some apple again, vanilla coming through after a while, and some raisin, and a bit of a bread and butter pudding feeling going on after a while. It's very gentle. The 40% ABV means it just coasts along rather than really taking off. But it's one just to be patient with, nurse, and let it slowly win you over. And the finish is fragrant tobacco, more vanilla, and some tropical fruit zestiness. It's long, dry, bitter, bit harsh, sour, and the tropical fruits return. Pleasant sweetness lingers for a considerable time. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of Scotchness. I'm not sure about colour or chill filtration on this one. I suspect it may be, although after 21 years, it's quite light. Let's see what the water does. Get orchard fruits, pears, green apples, cut grass, heather, and a hint of dried fruit in the background. We'll try the mouth. Orchard fruits again. Heather, not much much in the way of dried fruits. A white wine note. Pears, straw. It's smooth, gentle, and toffee sweet with a hint of butterscotch. It's quite lengthy in the finish, mildly mouth dry with cocoa powder, creamy softness with some spicy tones, and it's spicy to the end. So this is a very pleasant, calming, and easy drinking dram. Nice and drinkable whiskey, not top notch, but certainly not bad. So we'll cleanse our palates. Tonight I'm on Stockin's Oatcakes from Orkney. So the second Tomintoul dram is Tomintoul Sherry at 40% ABV. It's a non-age statement whiskey. Tomintoul Sherry wears its heart on its sleeve, or label really. The name Sherry, Seiridh, comes from the Scottish Gaelic for sherry, and as such, it was finished in first fill Oloroso sherry butts after initially aging in American oak bourbon casks. Master distiller Robert Fleming hand-picked the sherry casks from a family-owned bodega in Andalusia in Spain. So, and this one's darker, a non-aged Satan whiskey, and it's darker. The sherries obviously had an effect on the colour. 40% ABV again. Let's see where we have on the nose here. It's a soft and sweet aroma. Begins with soft, crumbly brown sugar, and it develops into honey and sultanas, and then come further subdued aromas of caramel, toffee, and candied orange peel, with a background pinch of baking spices. Think of cinnamon and allspice especially. Nutty barley and soft red berries with a touch of mocha underneath. Eucalyptus, menthol, burnt toffee. And you know, I don't know if they make these anymore, but it's like a Macallan's Highland toffee penny chew. Hard as nails, but yeah, a toffee penny chew. Buttery caramel. And there's a toasted bready note with sweet spread on it, a faint hint of copper coins, followed by some soft baking spices and roasted coffee beans. But there's also some gentle notes of cherry syrup and red berries, and a fair amount of vanilla too. Try your mouth. And it has rich and juicy notes, which manifest themselves as caramel, toffee, and manuka honey, combined with a with plump sultanas, raisins, and plenty of candied peel. And that candied peel is predominantly orange, but there's some hints of lemon and lime too. Underneath these obvious aromas, or obvious characteristics, are more subtle notes. Imagine malty cereals, chopped nuts, especially hazelnut and walnut, and a heavy pinch of those baking spices from the nose. There's cinnamon and allspice again, but with further hints of clove powder, nutmeg, and mace. It's got a Christmas cake richness, supported by toasted pecan, toffee, and just a hint of spicy clove. And then there's the bold oak, cedar wood, perfume wood. It's not dry. It's there's spice. It's a cracked black powder, pepper, leather, dry tannins. The mouthfeel is watery, but that's no surprise at 40%. And there are these soft oak spices, a slight bitterness, and a hint of charred oak, caramel, and butterscotch, and a tinge of red berries. And on the finish, you get red licorice, coffee, butterscotch, and flamed orange again. It's a bit harsh and sour. There's a whiff of fudge on the finish, and it's short to medium. The sweetness escalates on the finish, especially once the malty and warming spicy notes begin to fade. The honey and caramel lead the way with the juicy dried fruits never far behind. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. And again, I don't really see much Scotchness there. I suspect this has colour and has been chill filtered. Try the nose. And you get milk chocolate, raisins, butterscotch, and caramel. It's very pleasant to begin with. It's no sherry monster, but the finish in the Oloroso sherry cask has certainly left its mark. With water, the butterscotch notes do get a bit persistent with time, to the point of reminding me of melted butter. It's a borderline rancid note that I sometimes get from other Tomintouls. I wonder if there's something in the distillate that causes it. We'll try them out. Some honey, nuts, pastries with lots and lots of butter. And unfortunately, the butter takes over. And again, it's a short finish. It's drying and nutty. This has the potential to be a decent, affordable sherry finish. But that persistent butter note spoils it for me. It's not a showstopper. To be honest, bottling a whiskey at 40% sends a certain signal, and it's not to indicate a big commitment to the best possible flavour experience. I'm not convinced the Tomintoul Seiredh would have been a straight up winner at a higher strength, but it surely would have been a step in the right direction. So, for this comparison between the Tomintoul 21-year-old and the Tomintoul Seiredh non-age statement, does age matter? Well, neither dram is top notch. The 21-year-old is a nice and drinkable whiskey. The sherry is affordable but lacks the roundness, fruitiness, and pleasurability of its elder sibling. So for me, age does matter here, and the 21-year-old wins out. Thank you.